Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 8 of the Heavy Pen Podcast, the show where I sit alone in a room and talk to you about the art of storytelling, why it's cool, and how to approach it responsibly. Hello, everyone. I am your host, Chandelarian, also known as Christian, and I think this is the first time in a while that I have done the normal variant of this intro. But I'm not even 100% sure on that. But yeah, welcome to this week's episode. This week's episode is going to be pretty interesting. Pretty interesting for me. This is the episode that was always going to happen. And we will probably, as I think I've said at the beginning of most of these episodes, revisit this topic in the future, but today we'll take our first crack at it. That terrible specter that hovers over all of us who engage in any creative field, and truthfully any field in general nowadays, because it's just everywhere, and we're gonna have to learn how to deal with it, because it's not going anywhere. I am, of course, talking about artificial intelligence. Specifically, for our purposes, we'll be talking about the language models that have been not necessarily specifically tooled to writing and stuff like that, but stuff that can also accomplish things like that. We're talking about the ChatGPTs, the Squibbler. I think it's Squibbler. I forget the name of that one. Well, let me see. Squibbler. Is it Squibbler? I'm so surprised that I remembered Squibbler. Yeah. So before we get into the actual, calmly put together thoughts and reasoned out things, we'll be starting with just my my emotions, my gut feelings and thoughts on this subject, because I have a lot of thoughts about this subject, and it is a lot. Yeah, so I mentioned Squibbler. I became aware of Squibbler through advertisements that were sent to me, I assume because the almighty algorithm that tracks my every move thought that I'd be super into Squibbler because I like writing and haven't published any books. Now, I don't know how all of that really works. That's a completely different topic. I'm right now talking about advertising tags. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, so what is Squibbler and why am I even thinking about it? Squibbler is kind of everything that I hate about this topic. It's, once again, this is the emotional part of the episode, so bear with me for a moment. But I cannot stand I cannot stand people who look for any way to not do something, because it makes no sense to me. Like, why want to do something if you don't want to do it? If that makes sense. Like, Squibbler is an AI tool specifically designed to generate books off of prompts. Like, that is what it is that's what it's built as. That is its purpose. I don't really know how a bunch of these AI products and services work, because I know it's not that, or well, I guess I don't know. I assume it's not that 27,000 random small startups have developed an artificial intelligence capable of doing all the things, and that they are just purchasing some sort of development kit or what have you. I genuinely do not know how this works. But purchasing some sort of access to existing larger models that they are then using to create these bigger, or to create these products, such as Squibbler, which is designed to write. I know that there's Copycopter, which is one that is geared towards video generation, and they're all just so... it makes me sad to know that there are people out there who are so insecure about their own desires to pursue a creative field that rather than pursuing that creative field, they are willing to pay money to let a machine make something worse for them. Yeah, I just hate it. And the reason I keep coming back to Squibbler is because Squibbler's ad just infuriated me. And now I will remember the name of Squibbler forever because it's something that I will talk about in the future just to be like, oh, I cannot stand this. And I do believe that I'm putting myself at risk of like defamation, I guess. I don't even know. I'm pretty sure that I can just talk about my dislike of a product or company without any risk of anything. But hey, disclaimer, this is all me being emotional and not me making any sort of suggestions, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, to end off this part where I'm just ranting, if you want to use AI to assist you with things, do I have feelings about that? Yes, but like, sure, whatever. The problem becomes when you are using it to replace you in something that is intrinsically required to have you as a part of it. And I just don't get why you would do that. But yeah, that's all the like rah-ring that I'm going to do. Or well, I'm sorry, I'll do more rah-ring in the future of this episode, but that's the rah-ring section. What are we going to actually talk about today? We're going to just dive into some topics relating to artificial intelligence, general stuff, and then we will spend the majority of our time specifically talking about how it relates to the arts, to creativity, to storytelling, where it fits, where it doesn't fit, and, you know, what it's all for. And then, you know, we'll just be talking about things. We talk here, we have thoughts, and all of that good stuff. Okay, yeah, so let's just jump into the slightly more nuanced discussion of AI in our lives. Ah, yes, that word, that scary, scary word, nuance. That word which begs us to set aside our presuppositions and to approach something on a neutral field and really think about it. Okay, so how will nuance affect our discussion of AI? Well, first we have to establish something very important. You've got to chill out. Whichever side of the AI argument that you are on, whether you are hyper pro, hyper against, hyper I don't want to think about it, we got to remove hyper from the equation. We are creatures of emotion and reason, and we need to bring those into harmony. So let's do that. Let's all take a deep breath and agree to approach this subject on a bit of a neutral field, looking at AI not as a bad, not as a good, but as a thing that we are considering. So, what is AI? What is it for? What does it do? What are the goods and what are the bads? Well, artificial intelligence, as you all likely know, is essentially just a fancy term for a super, super complex algorithm which tries to give you results based off of inputs. Now, forgive me, I do not know a lot about the specifics of how these models work. To my understanding, these algorithms are designed to, once again, they're trying to give you an output that you desire And they get better at that the more parameters that you set. So like a large amount of the work that goes into developing them is giving them additional parameters to help them create better output, and also, helping them, and also like adding in the ability for them to interact with certain dimensions of tasks. For example, the chatbots, which are trying to mimic a certain tone, will respond to basically the tailoring of language in order to match a specific tone. By being exposed to language that follows that tone, it will look at that, analyze that, and be like, okay, this is the gist of what you're trying to get me to do. So I will then give you responses according to that tone, or, tone is the example we're using, but like responses according to whatever thing you're trying to have me mimic, and based on what you then tell it about the thing it just created, it will save that information and then use that as course correction. It's basically constantly course correcting, but super, 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 super fast. That is how I've been made to understand it. I do know rather, that there is a bit more to it beyond that. This is genuinely a super cool technology. I know I opened this being like, rah, 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 but like, I do think that these algorithms, I think they're very, very cool. And I think they do have a lot of actual benefits for us, for our lives, and all of that stuff that are possible. Like, I am a huge sci-fi fan. Like, just straight up and down. I love science fiction. I have loved growing up in this age that we all share, because I've gotten to see things that were science fiction become real. Like, stuff that I never even thought we would do because it didn't seem practical, like smartwatches. Like, I'm a kid who grew up on Spy Kids. Specifically, what was the episode? I want to say this is Spy Kids 2. When they're on the island, and like the whole thing is about like technology and all of that. There is a bit where it's like they have all this gear, and the other kids come and they have like all their gear, but like compressed to this like arm mounted thing, and they're like, oh, so sorry that you have the outdated equipment. Our technology is so cool that it all fits here. And I thought that was like super, super cool, because like, dude, who doesn't love spy gadgets? And then we went and made the smartwatch from Spy Kids and James Bond and all of that, and now it's just a thing. It's just a phone on your wrist, and it's neat, I guess. It is about as like practical as I thought it was, which is not very, but like, it's cool to have, and it does have benefits and blah, 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 blah. But like, yeah, all that to say, I do not hate artificial intelligence as a concept, because that's kind of stupid. Oh, I just dropped my fidget pencil. It's kind of stupid to hate something completely as a concept without considering it at all, especially in the realm of technology. Like, cell phones emit radiation, or not radiation. Cell phones are devices we have with us all the time, and they connect us to everything all the time, and that has effects on us. But also, we have the ability to communicate instantly across any distance, at any point, always. And you have no idea how impactful that is. Like, I will be shocked if a single person who is listening to this episode has really sat down and thought about the, like, real implications of how cool of a thing that is. Because, like, for most of us, I do believe, like, we've always had some form of phone. Like, just because the phone's no longer mounted on the wall and now it's in our pockets. And that is also huge. But, like, the concept of a phone is insane. Like, instant communication over any distance. Like, really think about that. Like, it's just super, super cool. So, like, good and bad, pluses and minuses, nuance. But getting back to AI, it's a super cool technology that has a lot of benefits, has a lot of like things that it can do for us that I think is like awesome. But it also has a lot of negatives. And as is so typical with us as the species who is so aware of the fact that we are fleeting, that we rush towards our own demise without considering what we leave in our wake, we don't really think about the pluses or negatives. So now the humble writer, the humble storytelling podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about it. So let's just start with like some of the things that it does that I think it does well. Scheduling, productivity, automation, stuff like that. Like, it is a very, very good assistant. That is like the peak form that I believe artificial intelligence should take. It is an incredibly powerful, incredibly useful assistant that is great at helping us bridge gaps between point A and point B. Like you give artificial intelligence a managerial or an organizational task. Organizational more so than managerial, but even with managerial tasks, like, it's very good at efficiency. It's very good at streamlining things. It's very good at organizing. Like, it's Siri, but the way we wanted it to be. I know people who rely heavily on it to like help them set things up, like, you know, helping them design courses and schedules and stuff like that. And in a moment of weakness, I actually used it to help me when I was having to like set up events ahead of time for a club that I was running. I used it to help me kind of brainstorm some ideas. And I do regret doing that just because I don't like using it for those things. But I would be remiss if I did not say it's kind of helpful for that. Like, even if it gives you bad ideas or bad places to start, it's very good at doing that. No, excuse me. But no, it's very, very good at helping us accomplish tasks. And that is something that we should acknowledge. Like, that's what it was designed to do, and it does it very well, and it's getting better and better at helping us accomplish those tasks. So what then is the balancing con of that pro? Well, it's super good at it's super good at helping us do tasks, but it's also pretty good at just doing those tasks for us. The common discourse I saw around basically anytime it was like, oh, AI is so bad at this thing, it's never going to replace X, Y, or Z stuff. A lot of people who are annoying will just go, well, I mean, this is the worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better. Like, you know, you gotta be careful. And unfortunately, there is like an aspect of truth to that. Like, it is designed to get better. These algorithms are course correctors. So as soon as they get into a general region of correctness, you just keep telling them not this but that, and you know, you do that a couple million times or however often you have to do that. I genuinely do not know. It's just going to get better. Like, that's what they're designed to do. But as it gets better, we who naturally think about, I mean, basically either the worst case scenario or just like the most efficient / in some cases profitable use of a thing, we're like, oh, this thing's really good at doing X task, you know, like managing this shipping lane or, you know, running a call center. What if I just have it do that? And the problem is, it's always going to be pretty okay at doing those things. And like, it's always going to improve as it's doing those things. But why is this a con? Well, it's about the removal of the human aspect from tasks that require a human aspect. So as far as like management goes, talking about managing schedules and like shipping lanes. I said shipping lanes. I meant, I guess, shipping lanes. So when I'm saying shipping lanes, the thing I'm talking about right now is like scheduling. Getting something from point A to point B in an optimal amount of time and like making sure that that gets done. These machines are very, very good at doing that. However, we have programs and machines that do stuff like that. And we already know that you cannot just let the machine do it unwatched because, either because of user error or computer error, stuff is going to creep in there. So you need someone there outside of it to make sure that it's doing the correct thing. And, there's the counter argument of like, well, okay, but is that not the same thing as it is it not the same thing as it replacing the person who was doing that managing, and now you just have someone else who's making sure its management is correct? Yes, to a degree, but I think the more important thing to think about here is the idea of what it is for. If you are looking at it from the perspective of how can I get this to replace people, I think that you're using it wrong and you're creating a greater negative. Another con that this is something that I'm willing to mention, but not necessarily give a ton of information on. This is a go look at this for yourself and kind of draw your own conclusions thing. As the needs of these programs have gotten bigger because these are very power intensive programs. We've seen a growing trend of like data centers being constructed, like places being built specifically to run these models, keeping them cool, keeping them functional so that they can continue to improve and run and do all the things we're trying to get them to do. And there's been a lot of environmental harms that I have heard of and seen a few reports on from these data centers being constructed. Now, the reason I'm willing to mention this, but not necessarily fully dive into it, is just I haven't spent enough time with it. This is something that I'm very comfortable being like, hey, look into this. And I encourage everyone who listens to this podcast to always explore the topics that I talk about beyond me talking about it. I basically will never be able to cover the full breadth of a subject in a single episode. And since this is about developing your skills as a storyteller, you have to be willing to go out and do that yourself as well. Don't just rely on me. Don't just rely on, Hello Future Me or other things. Go out, see the world, consume, live, learn, do all of that stuff away from people who are specifically handing you things, and you'll notice yourself developing super, super fast. Anyway, yeah. So con, it's an incredibly powerful assistant, or not con, pro, incredibly powerful assistant, incredibly powerful efficiency tool, and kind of spark generator and all that stuff. It will do most of what you need it to do very, very well. Cons, when you look at it from the perspective of the removal of the human, you get into dangerous territory of both it doesn't know why what it does is correct, so if there's an error, it will not see it. And also, humans still have to be involved with things because the removal of that removes something very, very integral, very, very important. And that's something that that concept we're actually going to dive into very, very deeply. And then kind of a bonus con is as these things develop, they become more of a drain on important natural resources, which is something that I encourage you to look into because I do not know enough to safely comment on that last point. So, artificial intelligence and the artistic world. This has been an ongoing conversation for years. Years and years, but it's been a very fascinating conversation to watch evolve. I remember the early days of artificial AI images. I remember back when it was fun and just kind of goofy and oh, look at this thing that's fun, goofy, and whatever. People were like, oh, this is the worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better. And, most people I knew, and myself included, didn't really take it seriously because, it's just a goofy little fake Excuse me. It's just a goofy little fake picture. What really does it matter? And now we're in the world where it's the pictures have gotten pretty dang good. Pretty dang good to the point where, there's a very real very real concern to be had of like, hey, these things are good enough that they can start being like used in stuff that you would typically have commissioned a normal artist for, or like sounding good enough to where you like can kind of use it to gloss over what you would have like a ghostwriter or a content writer do. And it's bad. Like, it's not good, to say the least. But it's not good in kind of a double-edged way. It's both screwing over the people who would typically be hired to do these jobs, but it's also kind of screwing over the people who use them. There is the whole, oh, it's only ever going to get better, blah, 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 blah thing. I'm like, yeah, that is true. They are going to improve. I don't really know where the like wall will be. I do think there is a wall for how much these machines can really improve. I don't really know where that wall is. Ow, my foot. I just kicked my desk. I don't really know where the wall is. But I do believe that there is a wall, which, helps me feel better. And maybe I'm, hold on, let me put on my let me put on my hat real quick and just go, maybe I'm just deluding myself into a false sense of security to soothe my artistic ego. But I don't know. Every iteration of AI content that I've ever seen has always lacked the human core. And while you cannot always immediately tell, you can always eventually tell. Even with, this is actually something that I didn't think would have been a thing, and I look in hindsight, it makes perfect sense. But like in the realm of podcasting, when I first started posting episodes of my podcast, and I saw other podcasts around it, I noticed a handful had AI generated cover art thumbnails, and I was like, I was really surprised at that, because just the thought had never occurred to me that people would use AI images for their title cards, because basically everyone I know, like everyone I've ever heard talk about it, upon becoming aware of the fact that like AI was used in a thing, their opinion of whatever that thing is drops immediately, like drops heavily. Like, there is not a person I've ever met who is neutral on the concept of seeing AI used in like direct content creation. And the reasons for that do vary widely. Like, there's the people who are like artistic purists who are like, how dare you use this non-artistic thing? There are people who are just like, oh, this is a sign of low quality and low effort. Like, it really is just associated with slop. Like, not to use this not to parrot an overused term, but slop content, because it's kind of the best way of saying it, content that is just generated en masse to be consumed without care for what it is or who's consuming it. They love artificial intelligence, man. And AI is very good at making that, because it's very good at finding a general aggregate of stuff that people like. It is the ultimate board of directors writing room, because it just looks at what people like and it can generate something using all of that. And in so doing, it has no humanity. And that humanity, it shows through. Like, looking at the stuff I've made, my podcast thumbnail, I will be the first to admit, it's not necessarily it's not a height of graphical design, but it communicates in a way in which I feel shows that like a person thought about it. Whereas if I had used an artificial intelligence model to generate the same image, it would not feel that way. And part of that's just due for like the telltale signs of artificial intelligence generation, but like I genuinely cannot put my direct finger on it. Like, I could tell you why something written by AI is bad, or like I could point out why an AI generated image feels lifeless, but I do not know why that always happens. And that's like an interesting thing. I don't even remember what my initial thing was. I think I was talking about like general negatives of it in the arts and like why I'm not a huge fan. But yeah, we're kind of just drifting through this concept. So to go straight to the heart of the issue instead of kind of meandering, should you, as a responsible storyteller in whatever medium you are, comic, writer, music, what have you, should you use artificial intelligence in your creations? There are two answers for this. There's the one that I feel the most strongly, and then there's the one that I believe is more objective. And that there's kind of subcategories in the more objective one. But let's start with the objective one, and then we'll go to the one that I feel more strongly. I have bumped my microphone twice, and I'm very upset about it both times. So let's start with the more objective kind of answer to the question of should you, as a storyteller, as a creator, as an artist, as someone who wants to make things, use artificial intelligence in the making of things? On an objective level, it depends on how. If what you're asking is, should I have AI create my like imagery, do my music, write my stuff, then no. If you're having it do it for you, then there is no point in you having done it. Like, there is no value in something that has not been created by a human hand when you are specifically engaging with something which is in and of itself specifically about being made by human hands. You do not go to the walls of a zoo and stare at the dirt apes have painted along the wall, but you do go to an art museum to see stuff that people have painted or sculpted. Like, there is more to it than just, oh, pretty picture. Like, it's about the communication of life and thought. It is, I mean, it's the human thought process. Like, art is how we translate the internal world that is so uncommunicable or incommunicable to other people, and we communicate it through that stuff, through what we create, through the stuff that we choose to express ourselves through. It is human expression. So if you are removing that, if you're removing the human part of human expression and it is just an aggregate of general stuff related to that kind of thought you had, you shouldn't do that. There is no value in that thing, no matter how much you want there to be, because it's not something you made. And you can't even be like, oh, well, it's an aggregate of a bunch of other stuff other people have made. No, it has been processed, consumed, and regurgitated. Like, it doesn't, it's, there's nothing there. So if the question that you're asking is, can I let AI do my thing for me? The answer is no. However, if your question is, can I use AI in the making of something that I am doing? Objectively, there is an answer here, and that objective answer, I believe, is yes. And I don't like this answer, personally, but I do believe on an objective level that there is not anything completely wrong with you having AI assist you in the making of something. I do think it holds you back. I think it is a crutch, a training wheel that prevents you from developing and like really discovering who you are and what you want to do and how you do it. But I can't throw it out completely. On an objective level, I think that it is okay for you to have AI assist you in your creative endeavors, whether that be idea generation, some like sampling and things like that. And it's really frustrating to have to say this Because once again, this is not my answer. We will get to my answer in a second. This is just the answer I believe is the most objective. But as long as it is still you making a thing, like you are doing work, taking components and putting them together yourself, then where those components come from matters a bit less. Even if the components are bad or flawed, I think that you can still make something beautiful out of them or make something wonderful out of them. I just am not a huge fan of giving any allowances in this because, first off, this is the internet, we all are aware. It's very easy to have things you say be taken out of context and hyperbolized, which it's a thing I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. The other side is just like, I don't like it. I don't like AI stuff. It bugs me, and for the most part, I don't really like it. Like, I hate the blandness that the images have. I really dislike the weird audio feathering that like AI generated music has always, for some reason I have not been able to figure out. Like, I don't like the like doubling back of, oh my gosh, is this voice actor a robot? Like, am I listening to Clanker media right now? Like, I don't like that. I don't like having to do that. I don't like how it looks, feels, or tastes. Like, this is food I am not a fan of. But there are ways to make good stuff out of bad ingredients. And, like, sometimes you even make really good stuff out of bad ingredients. Like, there are a couple channels on YouTube that I've seen who, like, they're two comedy channels. There's Burial Goods, and I think the other one is Seals Are Good. I do not remember the name of the channel. It's a weird name, but Burial Goods, if I remember correctly, they do, or I can't remember if it's multiple people or if it's just him. He like uses AI to alter his voice, to like achieve certain things. Like, he does like a bunch of shorts and stuff. I think he actually was the one who did the brother, may I have your oats funny video from a while ago. It's actually very funny. If you haven't seen that, I would totally watch it. But I believe he uses AI to like alter his voice, which I think is really cool, actually. But like, you know, he writes his scripts, he does all of that, but like, he just uses AI to like help him achieve a final result. And like, I think it's really good. His is kind of like his is not what I'm talking about right now with like using it in a generative capacity, because that's like an alterating one. The other channel that I mentioned, Seals Are Good, I think that is the channel. It's another comedy channel. So what he does is he does skits, basically, with characters from different franchises. The two that I have seen him do are Anakin from Revenge of the Sith as basically an overeager English student, and he did a bunch of Danganronpa ones with like the casts at each trial, like making jokes and roasting each other, and the creator of that channel wrote those scripts, but rather than voicing them himself, he uses artificial voices, AI voiceover, to read out the dialogue, basically. And that's kind of like when I'm thinking of, okay, objectively, is there any case where you can use AI in creation and it's not bad? That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about. Like, I don't mind some uses of AI to assist creation, especially when you're like achieving a vision with it. Now, that being said, there are so many things which matter very strongly about the way in which you do that. Like, for example, the voices in Seals Are Good's videos are very clearly AI. Like, there's no, what's the term? There's no, like, attempt for them to sound as human as possible, and it's not, like, hidden. Like, this isn't a thing that they're pretending isn't there. this is like it. I honestly would believe it's part of the joke that these voices sound very artificial. But like, there's also, you have to really do care. Like, you have to be aware of the fact like you're using other people's voices, and I do not know how those voice actors, or in the case of the Revenge of the Sith ones, how those actors feel about their voices being run through, these machines. Now, if they're cool with it, then awesome, and if they're not cool with it, then it's not really great. Like, that does stain this thing, which I have also just said, like, I think is funny, and I enjoy the videos he puts out. So like that is what I feel to be most objective answer, is just like, you can use it as a component, but it cannot generate for you. It has to be part of a thing, but it cannot be making the thing. Like, if it's making everything or even most of it, then no. But if it's making pieces that you're putting together, there are ways that can be done and it be done well. But it's a dangerous gray area that you're playing in, and I would recommend you not doing it. Now, my answer, do I think that you can use AI in creation? My answer is blanket no. That's my general statement is no. Don't even think about it. Don't even do it. Like, there's no reason to do that. And like, it frustrates me that this is a thing that is going on, because like I think about the newer creators, the people who are like, who have never given themselves the chance to engage with creation, with creativity, who are now being side funneled into something that is just stifling their creativity and not enhancing it. Like, think of how many people who could be writers, who instead just make prompts to write for them, and they just go, well, this is good enough, and I made this using prompts. Like, this is the thing I made. Like, it breaks my heart. Like, think of all the artists who are too afraid to learn to draw because of the vulnerability that entails. So instead, they just have Mid-Journey make up their stuff for them. Like, think of all the musicians who are too afraid to learn how to make music, so they just have a freaking, what is it called? Tune? I don't know what the music bot's called. The music clanker. I don't know what that, like, think of those people who, instead of taking the plunge to become a creative person, to engage with the part of them that is creative, instead funnel it through a soulless machine that doesn't know, like, it can't know what it means to make things. Like, they are robbing themselves of something incredible. You, by doing this, are robbing yourself of something incredibly powerful and endemic to all human people. Like, every person is made up of multiple parts. Everyone has some creativity, everyone has some logic, and the concentrations thereof are different based on each person. But like, everybody has a little bit of that in them. And the danger, I feel, of AI is that it does everything pretty well. So we stop thinking about what we can do and how we can achieve it, and we just go, oh, well, the robot can do it for us. There is a really, really great line in, I want to say this is in The Blinding Knife, which is book 2 of the Lightbringer Pentology by Brent Weeks. One of my favorite things ever. You should go read it. It is this anecdote that they're telling in the book about, so in this book, there's people who can use magic based off of the colors of light, and some people can use more colors, some people can use less. And there's these devices, these special glasses that some guy created, which helps people get certain colors of light. And they were telling this anecdote in the story there was this guy who, was super proud of his glasses because they're, expensive and a sign of wealth and power and all of that. And he was like, yeah, I'm the best. I'm the best blue drafter. They're called drafters. I'm the best blue drafter around. And he goes to kill this person who, she can use all the colors. And she's like, you're an idiot. You're stupid. And I can't believe you've done this. And she destroys his glasses. And I think the line that she said is, he who looks through one lens or one color lens is blind, or he who only looks through one color lens is blind. So basically what happened is, upon destroying his glasses, he found out that he could draft multiple colors that he had never known, because he was so focused on the fact that these blue glasses made it super easy for him to draft blue. And like, that concept is my concern with AI. This tool helps us do specific things, so we never think about other things that we can do. We live in an age where we get hyper specialized kind of passively, because that is how society is going. It's like, you have to be good at a thing. So we shy away from stuff we're not already good at, and we focus on stuff we are good at to the detriment of everything else. But we're people. We are multifaceted and complex. We can do so much more than just the specific things that we think we're good at. And AI, I feel, makes it very easy to not try to find out more of those things. So don't use AI to tell your story, to make your art. Art is human expression. That is the simple definition of art. Not drawing, not writing, not stacking rocks. Human expression. And if you are expressing yourself in a way, then that thing that you are using to express yourself can become art, if that is how you choose to direct it. Is all art good? No. Is all art equal? Absolutely not. Is some art made better than others? Absolutely 100%. There's no such thing as everything is completely equal. Everything is different, meaning everything is not equal. But AI is not an equalizer in this respect. Stuff made by AI is not human expression, is not art. It doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter how much it can do. It is not art and should not be treated as such. So don't let that infect you when you're going to create something. That is my answer to the question of, should you use AI in your art, in your stories? No. Don't. That is my simple belief. But so my simple belief is, don't do it. My nuanced, slightly more objective belief is, there are ways that it can be used to assist, and I think that it is a gray space, which is dangerous and thin, but can still produce some things that I think are pretty cool. But yeah, that's my simple thing. As far as responsibility goes, I think it's mainly just like, hey, if you're going to be making stories, you're going to be making art, you have the responsibility to be doing that. Do not call yourself something you are not. And the reason you are not something isn't because you're bad at it. It's because you're not the one who's doing it. That will be all for this week. Thank you all once again so much for listening, for coming out, for hanging out. I really appreciate I just appreciate the support. I appreciate the ears. As you know, as always, you can find me at Chandelarian on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, also on Twitch, and other places that escape me at the moment, but you can find either by looking for them or in the link tree that will hopefully be attached to this episode. Who knows? Maybe I forgot. But yeah, you can find me in all those places. Talk to me. Like, come message me with questions, with like stuff you want me to cover, thoughts you have about stuff I have said. Like, you know, I welcome your feedback, your thoughts, and all of that good stuff. I love engaging with people, and I want to engage with people more. That's like one of the big points of this podcast is I want to start engaging with people. I would love in the future to like bring guests on. That'd be crazy if I could bring other people on to talk about storytelling and why it's cool and how to do it well. That'd be crazy. That'd be awesome. But yeah, we're not there yet, but we'll be there in the future. I am confident that we can make that happen. But yeah, that is all from me. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, or whatever time it is wherever you are. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.